Imagine going from this to this. Now let me take you back to 2019. It was a hot summer break in June. I'm sitting at my desk looking at all the games I have installed, anticipating the fun and absolute chaotic time I'm about to have with the boys. We all go back and forth trying to decide on what to play, ultimately agreeing on Rainbow Six Siege because it was free to play for a week or two. I'm actually so glad we chose to try R6 because to this day, out of all the FPS games I've played like COD, Val, or even Fortnite, which is a battle royale that I have almost 3,000 hours in, Siege is in a league of its own and is the most rewarding, especially when you get good at the game. In my opinion. We all boot up the game and have an amazing game session, and in the words of Marley, just waffling about. I might have gotten 4 or 5 kills that whole time and had no idea what I was doing, but something about the tactical aspect of the game just had me feeling for more. And so it began. Hop on, frag out, or get out fragged by some guy proning against a wooden wall abusing bullet holes. Man, I miss old Siege. So I repeated this cycle for a few years, and eventually I started to get bored of playing the same old games over and over again. But I still enjoyed and cherished the time I had gaming with the boys. As time went on, gaming became a chore, and a hobby I loved. I slowly started to lose my passion for it. And if the boys weren't on, I would wait for them to get on, or scroll the gaming catalog trying to find the next big FPS game. That was me a little over a year ago. Bored out of my mind, stuck in the infinite loop of playing multiplayer games. Scared to become washed if I didn't constantly play and keep up with the meta, or get FOMO near the end of a Destiny season because I didn't get the perfect 10 out of 10 God roll on a weapon.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
But that all changed when my friend offered to share his account with me so I could try Elden Ring. I was like, sure, I have nothing better to do, so he sent me his account. I had never played a Souls game in my life, and honestly never wanted to because of the reputation they held for not holding your hand and being some of the most brutally hardest games ever created. But the hype was impossible to ignore. From all the YouTube videos bigging up the game, saying that it's the best game that has come out in the past decade, and my best friend talking about it constantly because he's a huge Souls fan and basically a walking Souls game encyclopedia. All the videos intrigued me, and I decided to take a break from multiplayer games to see what Elden Ring was all about. I know, crazy, right? Me playing something other than an FPS game? So there I was, playing Elden Ring completely out of my element, exploring the lands between on my trusty steed Torrent, dying to fall damage or falling off the map every 5 minutes. Tim the Tatman might have some competition.
I was getting sniped. Did you see me get sniped or no? Well, you're dead too?
I hacked and slashed my way through every enemy I came across, including the dogs, and ran for my life the first time I came across the hands.
Man, I'm dead.
There was also a village on the outskirts of Lindo where a lot of the residents were listening to Pop Smoke and dancing, so I tried to join them. The game was so beautiful, from the first steps in Limgrave all the way to the base of the Erd tree. The game never stopped impressing me. It was kind of a new experience for me playing a game by myself. No one in party chat, just me and a vast open world to explore. Elden Ring has multiplayer co-op, and I used it a bit on some of the more difficult bosses, but for the majority of my playthrough, I was alone. Me against the world, and I loved it. For almost a month straight, Elden Ring was the only game I played. That was when I had an epiphany, and realized gaming by myself wasn't so bad. After Elden Ring, I was craving more of that single-player experience. Around that time, I watched an anime called Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and I was hooked. I liked it so much that I decided to play the trial of the game to get revenge for my boy David because he did not deserve that. My memory is a little hazy on where the trial ended, but I do remember it left me on a cliffhanger, so I added it to my wishlist until it went on sale. I did my research on the game and saw many reviews saying that the game was a buggy mess and how the launch was so bad that Sony had to remove it from the PlayStation Store. That didn't sway my interest in the slightest. I had to find out for myself, and boy oh boy was I glad that I waited 3 years to buy it. By the time I finally played Cyberpunk, the game had been patched up for the most part. They gave it that No Man's Sky treatment. Out of all the games I've played, I have never been so invested in side characters. Okay, and when I say out of all the other games, I mean Elden Ring and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because around that time, that was basically my entire single player resume. Oh, and by the way, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the best AC game.
You're going to hell.
There is just something about Night City's dark yet vibrant atmosphere that is just mesmerizing. One of my favorite things to do in Cyberpunk is put some music on, whether that be the radio in the car or Spotify, and just drive through the world at extremely high speeds.
Are you coming first?
From there, my gaming library started to grow. I started to get into the Assassin's Creed games. I'm working on the Ezio trilogy right now, and I'm liking the stealth combat of 2 and Brotherhood so far. But when it comes to group combat, it's not my cup of tea. Also, some of the enemy NPCs can insta-transmission behind you, so just a fair warning for anyone that hasn't played AC2 yet. Tomb Raider was also a fun series to play through, though I don't know how Laura survived a lot of those situations she is put in, so I won't question it. Still Wakes the Deep and some of the Resident Evil games were some of the first horror games I dipped my toes into. Jump scares are fine. I could deal with jump scares.
Let's check the cameras. Where are the cameras?
But being chased and stalked down by Mr. X or Nemesis is a whole different story. If I had to choose one thing I hate in horror games, it's being chased by something and hearing it clear as day behind you. That's one reason I haven't finished Dying Light. Another Crab's Treasure was an extremely good and unique Souls-like. Return to Grace, an amazing walking sim, along with Firewatch, and so many new worlds and stories to explore. I was free. I finally broke out of the endless cycle of multiplayer lobbies and clip farming.
Alright.
One game I want to finish, but I dropped about 5 times. Or maybe it was more like 6, 7.
6, 7. I just bit right on the highway.
Is Skyrim. But why? It's such a good game and every gamer should experience it once. Well, from what I can remember, I had a fun time, but an extremely stressful playthrough. 2 hours in, I was going to drop the game because it was too hard. Turns out my stupid put the game on survival mode, thinking that it was the normal difficulty like Minecraft survival. I was stressed out, constantly struggling to find a bed to sleep in, having food poisoning because I ate absolutely everything I found, taking damage because it was too cold, and don't get me started on being over encumbered. I swear I would pick up a single piece of bread, and suddenly, I can't spread anymore. Man, just talking about it is giving me PTSD. Other than clutching a 1v5, this is probably my top 10 most stressful experiences. But it's a game I still want to finish. Someday. I made this video to share my gaming experience with multiplayer and solo games, with an emphasis on the joy of trying new things. After all, you'll never find your next favorite game if you don't go out and search for it. This also applies to the real world, whether that be picking up a new hobby or trying new food. Sometimes you have to hit new game on something unfamiliar. Who knew getting out of my comfort zone and getting bodied by Elden Ring bosses and being called maidenless would be so refreshing. You never know, that one game you said you'd hate might become your all-time favorite. Also, never take your time with your friends for granted. The chaotic parties at 1 AM, the one more game that turns into 3 because you can't end on a loss. These are core memories that have a special place in every gamer's heart. So yeah, thank you for making it to the end. Tell me about your gaming experiences in the comments below. Like and sub to help the YouTube algorithm push my video out, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Yeet!